Sometimes I'll pick up the scriptures and I'll read a verse and I immediately have a pushback. I ask God, what do you mean? And I have a lot of questions. And so it is with this verse today. When we read here in Proverbs 19 and verse 11, we're going to talk about overlooking an offense. And I'm thinking, but what about this or what about that? Listen to this verse. It says, a person's insight gives him patience, and his virtue is to overlook an offense. I think, first of all, it's important to understand what this is not saying. It's not saying that God overlooks an offense or God overlooks sin, because he can't do that. He's a holy God, and he says he must punish sin. Exodus 34 and verse 7. And God does that in at least three ways. He does that day to day, the natural consequences of sin. A person will reap what they sow. Secondly, God will do that in the ultimate and final judgment, where he makes everything right that has ever happened in life. All sin will come to an account before God, and he will have a righteous, pure, and holy judgment. And the third kind of judgment that God brings is upon his Son, when Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins. And so Jesus did that to wash away our sins, but that sin was not overlooked. It was dealt with and atoned for. Secondly, I don't believe this means that we overlook areas of our responsibility. Say, as a parent, if my child disobeys, that I overlook that. Or if we're a part of a church family and someone is living in sin, that we overlook that. Or if it's government, and government has laws and regulations, they have a responsibility to see that those are followed. And so in each one of those cases, we have a duty, a responsibility, and oversight to take care of things and not to overlook them. We do, however, respond in a timely and appropriate way. The right person, the right time, the right way when we do this. But I think this verse is talking about something very different. It's when we're hurt, we're offended, someone does something wrong to us, and we're just wanting to react in anger, or want to get back or to get even. And this really isn't an area of our responsibility. It's just that we got hurt. And so we want to react in the wrong way. And what this verse is challenging us to do is to consider this, to overlook it. To overlook it. I think that's a really hard thing to do. But I think there is such a benefit when we overlook an offense like this. One, it helps us die to self, which I think every single day is a struggle. I know it is for me, to die to self and a self-centered, selfish life. I think secondly, it turns me into a channel of grace. Instead of being confronting back out of my flesh, I become a channel of God's grace to be able to be ministering to that person. I think also it gets me out of the way so that God can effectively deal with this offense, because he's responsible for it, or it may be someone else who's responsible for it. But my getting out of the way allows God, or whoever is responsible, to be able to step in and take care of this. I also think it helps just clear my heart from becoming bitter. When you talk about something that's held on and we hold to it and we stir it up in our minds over and over, and we develop this bitterness that really it doesn't defile that person as much as it defiles us and hurts us. You've heard the saying before that bitterness is the poison we drink hoping someone else will die. I think there are many times where I get hurt, you get hurt, we get offended, we get bothered, we become irritated. And the best thing we can do is to overlook it and leave it to God. I hope you have a great week.